Hi there, and welcome to another edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is absolutely free. It is episode 142 of the flagship Gersnet Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Armstrong, tonight. As I say every time, guys, I'm going to try and promote the pod here in a very bad way. If it's your first time listening, get yourself on to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Put the word out there in social media. We're live tonight. We're live on the YouTube channel, but the pod will be available to download and stream and all that kind of stuff on a variety of platforms tomorrow, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, and Spotify. So we're live tonight. It's literally an hour and a bit since we beat the mighty Real Madrid at Ibrox, which I think is just outstanding. I mean, you know, when you consider the other mobs scored yesterday against West Ham, it's a good day to be a Rangers fan. So, my guest tonight, I'll bring in Ross first. How are you doing, Ross? You're looking a bit hot about the collar there, a bit sweaty.
I am a bit peaky because, well, firstly, I feel a bit sick after hearing your attempt of a Cockney accent. Please do not repeat that. No, because this is a Sunday evening kickoff at Ibrox, so I flew up for the game. I flew up this afternoon, got to Glasgow at about 3 o'clock, went to the game, had a wonderful time, and then realised that the Glasgow subway shuts off at 6 p.m. on a Sunday. Couldn't get a cab. Yeah, couldn't get a cab because of the 17,000 other people trying to get out, and so I've had to walk from Ibrox back to. I'm staying in a hotel just off Bath Street. That's a bit of a way from me, so a bit warm.
I'll bet you Susan Aiken is sitting watching this and laughing at what she's inflicted upon you.
Yeah. Susan Aiken, I hear she's one of our biggest and regular viewers.
Yeah, she can't get enough of us. Like, she loves us. And also joining us tonight is John McCallum, who's looking a bit more cooler out there in the West End. How are you, John?
Yeah, it's a shorter walk from Ibrox to where I live than it is for Ross, clearly. Plus, I'm a natural athlete, unlike Ross.
Right.
He's got a point. He's got a point, Ross. His Twitter bio does say he can leapfrog like a man half his age. Whereas you're apparently a Gersnet podder and London boar. So yeah, he's in better physical condition than you.
Well, he certainly is, because I've just polished off a Pecora supper. So
to be fair,
so that's why you're sweating. It's got nothing to do with the walk.
To be fair to Ross isn't used to this weather. You know, I mean, he's come up here. He isn't used to weather like this where he comes from. Man, London's under 4 feet of rain or something just now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. It's really, I flew up this morning. The rain, the thunder, the storms. I get here, it's absolutely tropical. It's lovely.
That's all the time, mate.
Yeah.
Well, it has been recently. I was up Ben Arthur on Monday, and it was like 28 degrees, and I have to say, I picked the wrong day to go up a big hill. It was like an hour and a half into it, I was like, no, this was a mistake. But once you've committed to it, you've got to do it, you know what I mean? But the sweat was lashing off me. It was horrible. I looked worse than Ross, if I'm being honest. And the thing is, when I get sweaty, you know, the hair gets the gaps, you know, because I'm starting to go a bit thin, you know, so it wasn't a good look at all. Anyway, right, guys, well, we get on with the show. We'll look at have a wee look at yesterday's game, but I think mostly focused on today's win against Real Madrid. I wasn't at the game today. A wee bit annoyed, actually. I logged on the day to do the agenda, and I had 2 emails sitting offering me a ticket from Rangers, which had arrived in my inbox at 8 o'clock on Friday night, and I didn't see them because I'd logged off at like 6 o'clock that day. So a wee bit miffed. But no, I wasn't at the game today, so I watched it on Rangers TV. Not too many troubles at all. But I'm coming to you first, Ross. I mean, I thought it was a really, really good performance today. I mean, the 2 games have obviously served their purpose. They've got minutes in the legs. Use of the squad was interesting. You know, the starting 11 yesterday, very different from today. You know, the starting 11 yesterday was McLaughlin, Patterson, Simpson, Balogun, Bassey, Kamara, Kelly, Arfield, Jones, Wright, and Eaton. Today, a much more sort of established look. You know, McGregor was in goal, Tav was back, Goldson, Hollander, Barisic, Davids, Lundstrom, Wright, Hadji, Kent, and the new boy Sakala, who we'll come on and talk about shortly. So, I mean, in terms of the two games in particular today, worthwhile exercise, and do you think that the squad is pretty much there and ready to go next week?
worthwhile exercise, absolutely. I mean, we've said it since day one on this podcast that when it comes to friendlies, the results are incredibly important. It's not just about fitness. We have to win. So very, very pleased to see us obviously that's a wee joke, and it's all about fitness. It's all about shape and tactics and getting minutes into the legs, as you say, Colin. But we've just beaten Real Madrid.
Yeah.
We've just beaten Real Madrid, and you got to have that. They didn't have Benzema playing, and they didn't have Eden Hazard and whoever. Well, we never had Morelos, and we never had Ruth, and there's a wee bit of that going on for us as well. I think it's been incredibly successful this weekend. We are testing ourselves, and absolutely West Ham, Brighton, and Real Madrid are earlier on in their pre-season campaigns than we are. That's absolutely fine, but we are testing ourselves against a higher caliber of opposition than we're going to be facing week in, week out, because we are gearing up to a very, very important Champions League qualifier. And the team, that Real Madrid team today that had, Jovic, Rodrigo, Isco, Marcelo, these are multi-tens of millions of pounds players. Did they not sign Jovic for £60 million? These are incredible players.
There was Clive Tilsley told us today there was 10 Champions League medals in that team today.
There you go. So I think it was an incredibly successful day out. It's the most fun I've had at a football game. I mean, obviously, I've been to football games for a long, long time, but it's the most fun that I've had at a game for an incredibly long time, because there was no pressure, the sun was shining, and everyone was enjoying it. And we beat Real Madrid. It's incredible. And actually, the performance was so good, and there were so many individual players. Kamara, when he came on, was outstanding. I thought Wright was excellent in the first half. Yanis Hadji did not look out of place in midfield up against Real Madrid. There were some really super performances today. Yesterday as well, Brighton. I mean, that was as solid as you like. Arguably, should have won that game. We do not look out of place against top level opposition, and that is so encouraging.
Yeah, John. I mean, I think that the sort of main highlight for me that came out of the Brighton game was the return of Doofus. That was quite funny. Big Shane Duffy coming back, and it was good to see Katic, making an appearance as well. But today, I thought, especially first half, a really, really good performance. It was a really good team performance, some good individual performances, and I thought it was good to see the players who played so well last season look like they're continuing that, and the new guys seem to be fitting in as well. You know what I mean? I thought first half especially, obviously in these kind of games, I've noticed recently with Liverpool what they've done in their pre-season friendlies, and it felt like that. But today they've split it into 3 games, so guys get a run out for half an hour, then they make a load of subs, another load of guys get a run out for half an hour, and you're always going to get that in pre-season friendlies. So at half time, a few changes, and a few more as the second half wore on. So that disrupts the rhythm and the flow and the sort of momentum that they built up. But overall, a great performance in first half, especially. I mean, the amount of chances they created in the first half was embarrassing, actually. That miss with Kent was a shocker. But, I mean, getting in at 1-0 down, I felt we were getting robbed, actually. Yeah,
the Kent miss was, I'm glad it wasn't a competitive game, because that was a bad one. But let's be honest, Kent looked like he should be playing for the other side. I thought Kent had a great first half. Yeah. You just said there, a lot of those players just seem to pick up from where they left off last season. Kamara, Sakala's goal was well taken. I didn't actually think he'd been playing all that well up to then. I think I'm going against the grain, but it was well taken. But it was Kamara that made it. Kamara closed the boy down, won the ball, played it through. Still had a lot to do, but it was Kamara that made it. So that was really pleasing. When I saw the pre-season schedule and you saw we were playing Brighton on Saturday and Real Madrid on Sunday, I was scratching my head. I was thinking, what are we doing here? How is this going to work? How are you going to play 2 games, one after the other? And it made me wonder whether I wanted to spend the money to see, particularly the Brighton game. I was thinking, are they just going to play the reserves? Is it just going to be young boys we're playing, or how's this going to work? But I'm actually really pleased that I paid the money and I watched both of them, because clearly what we try to do is we try to give everybody 90 minutes, or there or thereabouts. Certainly everyone get 45, and quite a few get 90 over the 2 games. So that was maybe kind of ties in a little bit with what you're saying about is it Liverpool?
Yeah.
And I also think it's clearly they've kind of stepped up each week, playing Thistle, playing Tranmere, stepping up the kind of quality of opposition each week till you end up with Real Madrid. Now, okay, let's be honest. It wasn't Real Madrid's first 11. Real Madrid are behind us in where we should be. But I do think this probably makes us favourites for the Champions League now. and get your money on now. Clearly, we are now favourites for that competition. I'm surprised they don't just give us a bye through now to the knockout stages. Because
I agree, John. I wholeheartedly agree.
A fantastic performance. It was a pre-season friendlies can be. I don't know what you learn sometimes from a pre-season friendly, because as Ross so rightly says, it's all about fitness. It's about getting some mileage into the legs and making sure folk know their positions and things. But those were two really enjoyable games. And the game today, and it's not just because we won, and I don't think it's just because there was a big crowd there, or a bigger crowd there, and also it was Real Madrid. But we competed. My dad couldn't see the game, and I was texting my dad throughout, and first 10 minutes we're 1 down, they've hit us in the break, cut us open. I'm thinking, okay, this might not go our way. But about half an hour later, I texted him and said, you know what, we're really competing here. We're giving them a game, and they might well cut through us again and knock in a couple more, but we're at least giving them a game. And second half, I know we played well in the first half, but the second half, there was only going to be one winner in the second half, in my opinion. Now, results are great, but I think what's more pleasing there is, as you say, everybody getting a run. And with the possible exception of Jordan Jones, nobody really disappointing. We had a moment today where we were leading Real Madrid 2-1 with Jordan Jones and Glenn Middleton on the pitch, which, that's not something any of us thought we would be saying 6 months ago. I don't think either of those two necessarily, made us think, okay, let's give them another chance. But, they come on, they're part of the squad, they got a run. But a few others I thought really caught the eye. I thought Kelly had a great game yesterday. Again, it's a pre-season friendly, but, I would be surprised now if he's not retained as in part of our squad. I would be surprised if he's sitting out on loan again. Certainly the first half of the season, I would be surprised. Maybe if he doesn't break into the team come January, we might look at that. But you're now looking at him thinking, okay, there's a guy who can come in and do a job. Kamara's going to be suspended for Europe. Jack's not fit. We'll just have to see how everybody else is after the first couple of games. But Kelly looks like a new signing, and that's great news.
Is that something, John, that Gerrard's quite good at? I was listening to some of his interview on Friday in Sky News and his sort of post-match interview today, and the sort of stuff that you're talking about, giving everybody minutes. It's almost like, I think he's been very good at this down the years, putting the responsibility on the players. Right, it's up to you to get in my team. And he can now turn around and say to pretty much everyone in that team, well, you've had your minutes during pre-season. I'm going with the guys that have impressed me the most. And I think it strikes me as a manager that it would be very difficult to win an argument against in terms of minutes on the park. Through the years, you could make loads of arguments for players who felt they weren't getting, the appropriate amount of game time, and you would think, well, how would the manager justify that? I don't think that's the case with Gerrard. I think any player going in there to complain about minutes, Gerrard's got that argument won already, because it seems to me to get someone that does give people a chance and expects them to perform, and if they don't, well, you've not performed, you're back out.
Yeah, I think you're dead right there. We are going to have, whatever happens against Helsinki or Malmo, my understanding is that, we are in some sort of European competition up until the end of this year. So, we're going to have a lot of games. We are going to have a lot of games, so we need a big squad. We've been stuck the last couple of years not having enough Scottish players. We've had to leave players out the squad. Our squad actually hasn't been full for European games because we haven't had enough Scottish players. So the emergence of Patterson clearly, and obviously Kelly coming in as well, and signing Wright helped solve that issue. So we're going to need that squad, Colin, and I think everyone will get a run. We're probably still at centre half. I don't know how it was good to see Katic in. I don't know, I wouldn't like to be relying on him for that after that length of time out. He's going to need, I think he's going to need a few games before he'll get his sharpness back. Plus, players tend to pick up kind of wee niggly, muscles and things like that if they've been out for a long period of time. So I wouldn't like to be relying on him, but I would like to see him come back into contention because I actually think Katic is a pretty good player. And I think all of these guys will get a chance. And you know yourself with Gerrard, if you take that chance when you get it, whether it's in the League Cup against Dunfermline or whether it's, in a European match, if you take your chance, you'll be in the team the next week. Did you see the interview with Tav after the game on Rangers TV?
I didn't know.
There was an interview with Tav after the game, and the interviewer asked him about Patterson. Because Tav and Patterson they played together for maybe 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Tav moving into midfield. And it's interesting because, he's a club captain. And so, he is used to speaking. But you could see he was just a wee bit uncomfortable with the question. He was, the manager's trying something out just now and, I'm just happy to be on the pitch and all that.
Yeah.
And just to go what you're saying, even our club captain knows now, his position is not guaranteed. Now, I think he's first choice, and I think he is quite rightly first choice. But he knows his position's not guaranteed. He knows if his form falls, there's a player there who could step in and potentially take his position. That's a great place for our club to be just now. Brilliant place.
Yeah. Ross, on one of the new guys, Fashion Sakala, he got the goal, great goal, and I think John makes a really valid point about Kamara's input in it. He harried, he hassled, got a foot in, put him through. I slightly disagree with John. I thought he looked good outside the box. I thought his link-up play was pretty good at times. And it looked like there was a couple of occasions where he was just taking a touch and trying to open the legs up and get the run on defenders, and he was getting fouled, and other things happened to prevent that. And he had a couple of chances in the first half as well that he just sort of snatched at them a wee bit and didn't connect with them properly. I think that's how Kent's chance came. He sort of sclaffed it and it came to Kent, and he sclaffed it even more. But overall, I thought he looked really good. I thought he took his goal well. I'd like to comment for Kevin Thompson on Rangers TV today. He said, it was almost like a Chris Boyd thing, head down, just hit it on target kind of thing. So encouraging signs, and he looked like he enjoyed it as well. When the goal went in, he looked really, really happy, which is something that we've not really had from our striker from the last 2 or 3 years. He's a very angry person when he scores a goal most times. So it was nice to see him score and have a smile on his face, and I thought he performed well and deserved his goal.
Yeah, I agree. I think that first half performance, I was very encouraged. I think there's a player with a lot of natural ability, maybe a little bit of rustiness, and a touch going awry or not taking his chances properly, but I kind of give him a wee bit of leeway there. He's not had the same pre-season as everyone else. He's arrived a wee bit late. There's been isolation problems, that kind of thing. So I thought, in terms of his ability on a football pitch, I thought he looked excellent and really, really exciting. I think it's an exciting signing, and the kind of signing that we should be making. He's coming from. He's taken a step up in terms of the quality of the club that he's playing for. He comes in, matching the profile in terms of the financial outlay that we're making on him. We're not throwing millions and millions of pounds after it. So, yeah, I thought he looked really good. I thought he deserved a goal, and you could see what it means to him to score. I think for any player to score a goal against Real Madrid must be an incredible feeling. To do it, I know he got on yesterday, but really today was his first day, his first game as a Rangers player. In my mind, he didn't get a huge amount to do yesterday, so it meant a lot to him. He took the finish really, really well. I was just really, really pleased, and I think it gives Gerrard something to think about. We don't know what's happening with Alfredo Morelos at the moment. I think that's clear. We're not entirely sure when he's coming back. He seems to be somewhere between here and Colombia. I'm not sure where. There will be isolation and quarantine when he gets back. So the same probably can be said for big Cedric Itten as well. He's scored 3 goals in 4 pre-season games. I thought he looks sharp in front of goal, and the goal that he scored today was a wonderful finish. Really good improvisation to get that turn and snapshot away. So we're looking good up front, and that's a good thing. We have got maybe a a slight selection headache when it comes to the first qualifier for the Champions League, because Roof is suspended. Morelos will probably be in quarantine or whatever he is.
3 stone overweight.
Yeah. Jermaine Defoe seems to be injured.
Yeah, he's
Sakala, I don't know if he can be registered. I don't know what the situation is there, but I suspect we might well be seeing Cedric Itten starting these Champions League qualifiers or starting against Livingston next week. So I'm glad to see both of them take their chances today, because if there was one criticism of pre-season so far, it's we're not scoring enough goals. So to put 2 past Real Madrid was really encouraging. And Sakala, I think he showed all of the potential that we wanted him to show today, and to see him score that goal. They came and celebrated right down in front of where I was sitting. It was absolutely lovely. You could see how much it meant to him. The players as well, the other players, they all seemed to be really, really pleased for him. I don't know if you saw the big smile and the big hug he got off Jermaine Defoe when he came off as well.
Yeah.
Everyone was genuinely just really, really thrilled for the guy. So there's also that funny thing that we had when we had Bongani Zungu. And whenever Rangers did a Facebook status or a tweet or something, you had 30 South African guys talking about Zungu. We now have that with Zambia. It was nice, we're sort of moving around sub-Saharan Africa, picking up new fans wherever we go, which I think is anyone, we welcome you all.
Yeah, absolutely. John, I mean, Ross there was talking about Cedric Itten, and I think he's quite an interesting one, because, again, Clive Tilsley was talking today saying, behind the scenes, I think he had a wee bit of a struggle last year, because obviously he's turned up and we're in lockdown. He couldn't get out and about, and a new city and a new life. So this is the sort of stuff I don't think supporters maybe take account of. What's going on behind the scenes in people's their private lives and stuff like that, and their personal lives. They're coming in, they're doing their job, but outside, and I think Zungu struggled with that as well, and it caught him out. He couldn't handle it and went to a party, and it's cost him any chance of a move to Rangers. But I've always admired Itten. He's always a player I've really, really liked since he's arrived. I understand why he doesn't get a huge amount of game time last season, but as Ross pointed out there, he scored 3 goals in 4 games in the pre-season. A great finish today. It really was a good turn and a good finish, and I thought he played well when he came on. So I also think it was mentioned today that he'd lost his place in the international setup as well, because he wasn't getting a huge amount of minutes. So given, the effort that he's put in, is he champing at the door now for more game time and looking for more starts? Because what I've seen him so far last season, as I said, I liked him. I think he's an impressive looking player. And this pre-season, he seems to have stepped it up again. Yeah,
I think he's first choice just now because of Roof's suspension in Europe. I suspect that we'll be looking. Well, we've really got to go with Defoe, Sakala, or Itten. I think Itten is the first choice of those 3, and I think it's his position to lose. And he's looked pretty good in pre-season, as you say. He's a player who's not let us down. His contribution to us winning the league last year, that him coming on and scoring goals against Motherwell, wasn't it?
The goal against Motherwell at Ibrox was a crucial goal. That's the goal. That's the goal that got the biggest roar in my house, because that was the tensest game, I think, because we'd lost against St Mirren a few days before. Right. We were coming into January, and Motherwell scored early doors, and I think it was like 70 minutes, 75 minutes, and everybody felt, oh, this is it. This is the game we're going to buckle, and he's the man that got the goal. So it was a crucial goal.
Yeah, no, he's a guy who scored. He's not an out-and-out finisher. He's got a bit to his game. He can play with his back to goal. He's decent in the air. He was in a lovely finish today, as Ross said. So it's his position to lose, and I think he'll get first crack at it. I think a fit Morelos is still our number 1 striker, but as you said yourselves, he's potentially a couple of weeks away from being fit. I don't know. I'm assuming he has to self-isolate when he returns. I don't know exactly what the rules are just now and the countries he's coming in from, and if it's slightly different for professional sports people. But I'm assuming there is a period of isolation required. There'll be a bit of conditioning required. I mean, he's been with the Colombia squad, so you assume that there's been some training going on there. I don't expect him to come back 2 stone overweight, and I still think he'll be our number 1 striker when he's fit. But it's Eaton's chance. It's his. I think he'll get the nod on Saturday, and I think he'll definitely get the nod in the European match. And if he does the business, then I think he gets to keep the place.
Ross, a few minutes a day for the new boy John Lundstrom today as well. I thought in phases today he looked really, really impressive. It's the first time I'd really seen him. What were your thoughts? He looks a bit of a unit as well. He looks like a sturdy bit of tin.
Yeah, I think he looks absolutely class, doesn't he? I think it's an incredibly good and ambitious signing. I mean, obviously we picked this guy up on a free transfer. His contract expired down in Sheffield, but he was the mainstay of that Sheffield United midfield. Him and John Fleck, and so this is picking up regular starters of Premier League quality. So I think it says a lot that he would want to come up and play for Rangers. Obviously, he's a Scouser midfielder. I can imagine that our gaffer had something to do with what attracted him to Rangers. But he seems like he can do anything. It seems like he's good on the ball. His passing's good. His sort of recovery play and winning the ball back is good as well. He's very strong, very, very physical. I can see him picking up a few cards. I think that's probably what I would predict coming through this season. But he does. I think he does seem to bring something that maybe we've been missing in midfield. I think we've got creative midfielders and skillful midfielders. And I hate when people talk about enforcers, because I don't think it's quite right for our sport. But actually, for someone to sit in there, break up play and do something with the ball, maybe he's the guy. But you're right, he just looks a cut above. He really does. Or maybe not a cut above, because a lot of our midfielders are also a cut above. Glenn Kamara today was exquisite when he came on. Absolutely wonderful. So we're looking very, very handy in midfield. I feel for people like Scott Arfield or maybe even Steve Davis, because I think that they're going to be struggling for game time a wee bit now. Scott Arfield probably in particular, because we've got good young midfielders.
You just hate Scott Arfield, didn't you, Ross?
I did think he was good when he came on today as well. So,
you honestly think that Steve Davis is going to struggle for game time?
No, I don't.
I fit Steve Davis, and I think his first name in that team sheet.
You'd have him above John Lundstrom, Joe Aribo. We're still missing Joe Aribo.
Yeah, I don't think Joe Aribo's a midfielder.
No. Possibly.
I think Joe Aribo, I'd play him in the front three, but I don't think he's a midfielder. And I certainly wouldn't play Steve. I wouldn't have a choice between Joe Aribo and Steve Davis.
Well, I think it's the options that we have now. We have just
That's the point I was about to make. What I mean? This whole discussion points to strength and depth in the squad, which is something we've never really had for over the last sort of 10 years.
But I mean, it's young Stephen Kelly coming through as well. I mean, the last two games, he's been excellent. He had one sort of scary bomb scare mistake moment today. He recovered really, really well, looked composed. I just think we've got options, and we're now in a position of luxury in that we can tailor that midfield into how we want to play and the opposition that we're coming up against. And we've seen that tinkering of formations that we've not necessarily seen from Gerrard and his team before. That's what I really like to cover. I can't remember which game it was. It might have been Tranmere after that game, when Gerrard spoke about the Tavernier and Patterson question. How do you play them together? And it was the first time that he'd ever really spoken about a 3-5-2 or a 4-1-4-1.
It looked like at one stage today we were 4-1-4-1.
Exactly, And it was maybe only 5-10 minutes, because then I think Tavernier came off for Jordan Jones. But we've seen that tinkering now, and we've seen him playing around with different shapes, different formations, and different personnel. And it's just so encouraging. Look, maybe I'm being a wee bit facetious. Stephen Davis is not going to struggle for game time in that sense. Scott Arfield will. He will struggle for game time. But Stephen Davis absolutely won't. But it's the fact that were he to get injured, because he's I don't think I've seen Stephen Davis injured ever. He's just a total warrior. But were he to get injured, or the shape needs to be changed, or we're chasing a game, we need to switch something up, we have the options to do that now. We also don't, again, it comes back to luxury and choice. Stephen Davis is 36, pushing 37 this year?
36, yeah.
We don't need to be playing him every game now.
No, that's something that happened last year. He probably played more football last year than, because of the situation with Ryan Jack. that's a point I was about to make, that we can manage Stephen Davis's time now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's that midfield to me, and I think actually it was an area of the park that needed reinforcing. But John Lundstrom seems to have all of the attributes that we needed. It was if there was one gap that was missing, John Lundstrom comes in. He seems to have everything. So again, really positive scouting, really encouraging scouting, and to get him on a free. I'm sure it wasn't free, because I can imagine the agent fees and the signing on fees. If I was an agent, I'd be saying, well, you're not paying a fee to Sheffield United, you can pay it to me instead. So I can imagine the outlay is still pretty significant, but yeah, really, really exciting times.
Hey, John, as we were sort of saying earlier on, you know, some of the guys from last season as well, impressive performances. You know, it's like they've picked up from where they left off. You know, we're speaking earlier on about Kamara, Ryan Kent, and Scott Wright as well. I thought he's another one I think that could really sort of up his claims for a regular start this season. You know what I mean? And again, he looks to me, every time I see him, he just gets bigger and bigger, and I don't mean in a bad way. He's bulking up. He's becoming a big, strong lad. You know what I mean? When you see images of him now compared to when he was at Aberdeen, it's almost night and day. So again, at the first half, I thought he put in a great sort of 45 minutes or whatever it was he was on for, and you know, Kamara as well when he came on, Ryan Kent, all these guys who were part of it last season, looking like they're on it again. Yeah,
Wright played well today, didn't he? Wright had some nice moments today. He didn't look out of place in the pitch, and like you know, every time Wright's come on, he's impressed. We've talked about Wright before, and I had no idea who Scott Wright was until we announced we were going to sign him. His entire Aberdeen career completely passed me by, but you know, thankfully I am not in charge of scouting for Rangers, because he's been a shrewd signing, and clearly the move from the bleak northeast to sunny Glasgow has helped his disposition and his diet, and as you say, he certainly looks he looks fitter, and that is something that you have to give the club credit for. I've been delighted with him. He did catch the eye today. You know, he's another one he'll get game time. You know, he might not start every game, might not even be a first choice start when Aribo's fit, but he'll get game time. He'll come on, and he'll come on in games where he's expected to do something. And he's the kind of player that I think it's kind of between him and Aribo and maybe Hadji for that kind of third space up front. I think Kent's a guaranteed starter when fit. I suspect, you know, Eaton or Roof or Morelos is going to get that kind of centre spot, and then it's between the other three. I think it's between really Aribo and as I said, Hadji. I think sometimes plays out there, and Wright. And so, you know, the one that doesn't start is expected to come on with 20 minutes to go when the defence is tiring and start to stretch them, you know, start to create something. So he's going to get game time, and you know, fingers crossed it goes well. It's really important that we start this season well. You know, I mean, we don't talk about other clubs unless we're playing against them. But take a moment. You know, Celtic are in disarray just now. You know, I mean, they are, and you know, but they're not going to be in disarray forever. You know, when they are going to go and sign some defenders. They might even sign a goalkeeper. You know, I think they may need one, but you know, they're not.
How bad was that goal yesterday, John?
It was just astonishing. See, when you see the still, what was he doing?
It is right out that. I mean, anyone that plays five-a-sides regularly will know that when you get put in goals, when you've been in for 5 or 6 minutes, you're like, right, I've had enough of this. And the shot comes your way, and you just get out the road and say, right, who's in? Right.
That's exactly what it was.
That's what it was like. It was like, put it there, mate, so I can get out and have a wee kick of it. You know what I mean? That's what it's like. But sorry, anyway, I digress. On you go.
But the point, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, every other club in the Scottish Premier League has had a look at Celtic's pre-season and thought, I fancy our chances against them just now. You know, and so it's important that we start the season winning, because, and I do mean this, you know, I think Celtic will, you know, they've bought a centre half. He's got to he's got to go into quarantine. He's then got to do his pre-season. So whatever. I mean, even if that guy could start next weekend, he's not going to know any of the players around him. He hasn't done a pre-season. He's not going to be as fit as they need him to be. And I think that's a fairly weak Celtic team that's going to start this season. And as such, I think it's really important that we start this season really strongly, because Celtic will strengthen. They'll strengthen in this window, strengthen in the next window, and they do still have money. They're going to have European football, whatever happens to them against Midfield. Whatever happens to them against them, they'll still have some European football. So it's important for us this season, because hopefully we'll have Champions League football. And if we remember back to when we used to play that, there's a hangover that comes with that. They're tough games. That's a step up from what we've been used to. We'll need that squad. Be good to get as many 3 points in the bag before those days come as well. And guys like Scott Wright are going to be very, very important to us, because these are guys who will need to open defences during those difficult games. He's sitting there, flat back 10, a referee against us. You need guys like Scott Wright.
Yeah, but Ross, one final thing on today's game. Like, Real Madrid reduced to 10 men in the sort of last 20, 25 minutes, something like that. Given that, friendlies are about, getting minutes into legs and all that kind of stuff, is there an argument to say, right, okay, if someone commits a red card challenge, yeah, they go off, but the team are allowed to bring someone else on, so that the purpose of the game to get minutes in legs still happens? Because it kind of feels like, in a competitive game, I get it, right? And it sometimes annoys me in a competitive game as well, when you're watching a good game, and it's just, say it's in the first half, 25 minutes, it's building up, you think, well, this is going to be a good game, and somebody gets sent off, and you think, well, that has absolutely killed this game, that's it, the game's done now. So it's frustrating in a competitive nature at times, right? And a friendly, I did kind of think, don't get me wrong, it was a shocking challenge and he deserved the red card, but I did think for the purposes of the exercise, because that's what used to happen at amateur level when I played. The referee just say to the touchline, look, get him off and get someone else on, because he's, if it was a competitive game, I'd be sending him off. Yeah,
that's exactly what I remember playing football as well. It was a word with the coach or the manager, get him off, get someone else on.
Yeah.
A couple of things on that. Firstly, one of the main reasons that I enjoyed being back at Ibrox with the crowd today is because I'd forgotten the creativity of the Rangers fans that are abusing the referee. Some of the stuff that was coming out of it with the column was just fantastic, and I didn't realise how much I missed that until someone started it up again. Wonderful stuff. It was a shocking challenge. Could have been a straight red, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it should have been.
Marcelo could have faced a red card as well first half, I think. A couple of nasty challenges flying around there. Do I think that I don't know? No, I think he gets sent off and that's it, in my opinion. I think it's not a bad thing for the team that gets reduced to 10 as well, because now they've got to figure out how they deal with that. I think it's also good for Rangers to play against, or get practice playing against 10 men, because the Masons will ensure that happens a lot this season. That we'll be playing against 10, 9, maybe even 8 men sometimes.
See, that's why I put it on the agenda, because I knew you'd come up with that.
Absolutely. I wrote that down about 40 minutes ago. I seen the question coming. Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What about you, John? Do you think there's a wee possibility of punishing the player, but not the team in these sort of occasions?
I do. I think that's exactly what. I think that's what Real Madrid expected as well.
Yeah.
I don't think Ancelotti was too pleased getting a player sent off, because I'm assuming that he does get a suspension. I mean, I think it's a kind of, I'm assuming he misses. I don't know. I don't know if it's a league game or a next friendly or just the next time you play Rangers or I don't know what. But I'm assuming it does matter. But I mean, look, you're right. It was a shocking challenge. We're lucky Kamara just kind of bounced back from it. He didn't, maybe one of these ones that looked worse than it actually ended up being. But I certainly wouldn't have any problem if if the ref had just said, right, sub him now. That wouldn't have been a problem for me.
It was interesting to note as well, like there was 4 minutes injury time, and the minute it went to 90 minutes, Ancelotti's like, just get this game moved up.
What I'm enjoying most about this, though, is that you and Ross comparing your amateur football days to our Rangers playing Real Madrid. today.
Well,
and that's what football's all about, is you guys making that comparison. And in your heads thinking it's just the same. It's just the same.
Yeah, it is. Honestly. It's no matter what level you're at, it matters just as much to the individuals playing. Trust me. Right, guys. So, before we move on, I need to highlight one of our partners. It's Football Prizes, and they've currently got a Graham Souness signed framed shirt. Looking at it just now, it's quite an impressive bit of kit. So it's £4.95. There are 99 tickets. So you buy a ticket and hopefully you'll give me a chance of winning this. The deadline is Friday, the 30th of July, which I think is Friday coming, at 8:30 p.m. So get yourself on that. Graham Souness signed shirt. It's one of the Castore shirts. £4.95, 99 tickets. I'm not quite sure how many tickets are left. You'll probably get that on Frankie's Twitter if you're interested in going in for that. Right, guys, on to other stuff. I thought we would have a wee look at the Connor Goldson situation. Stephen Gerrard was interviewed on Friday there on Sky News, and it sort of came up. He's out of contract next summer. Seems to be rumbling on. It's not put pen to paper yet. Are you worried, Ross? Are you thinking that this could be an issue? Or he seemed to say something, I think it was in yesterday's paper, I saw something, he was sort of indicating that nearly there, that the deal's nearly done and he will be signing. But have you got any worries? Because he has been, don't get me wrong, in his first season, there was a few errors and, people questioned him. But last season, he was an absolute rock last season, and he is an integral part of that defence. So any worries, or do you think he'll put pen to paper soon?
I'm not particularly worried. You're right. Last season he was integral. He was a rock. And coming back today, I actually first when I seen their goal first when it was happening, I did think he was potentially at fault for not closing the boy down. That said, he is an extremely talented defender and a huge presence, because again, being back at Ibrox today, you can hear him talking all the way through that game. Yeah. He's so vocal. He's so good at organising the defence, telling players what to do. So I think that he would be a huge, huge miss. Now, I suspect there is a chance that he wanted to just wait it out for a little bit through the summer and see if any interest would be generated. Because, at the age that he is, he's probably thinking, right, I've done what I came to Scotland to do, which was to win the league. I've got good European experience. If I wanted another crack at the Premier League, maybe now is the time. So I could see that he might want to sit and wait for the first portion of the transfer window and see if anything happened. And I don't necessarily blame him if that's what he wanted to do, because he has contributed so much. I suspect there would be a pretty good fee if that did happen. And I don't blame him for having that ambition. Obviously, he's gone down south, and he might decide that that's what he wanted to do. That being said, if no interest has materialised, I think he's very, very happy here. Again, I think he's one of these players who, a bit like a Tavernier, has now found somewhere that he can settle and really grow as a player and feel comfortable and part of the club. So I'm really not that worried. I think you're right. Gerrard and Goldson, they're both hinting that this is as near to being done as it can be. And I think that's genuinely really, really good news for us. I think having both Goldson and Hollander, who I'm still just a massive, massive fan of, it's really, really encouraging. And I'm really not too worried. I'm pretty sure that the player and the manager, they wouldn't be putting out these messages and these little teasers unless they were both very, very confident that being done. Like I say, I suspect he wanted to just have a quiet summer, see if anything generated from down south, and if it hasn't, he's perfectly happy to commit his future to Rangers, and I think that's good news for us.
What about you, John? Any worries, or do you think he'll sign on the dotted line?
I think he'll sign. Yeah, like Ross, I don't think people will be speaking quite as openly about this deal. People obviously in the know, Stephen Gerrard. I don't think he'd be speaking quite as confidently as he is if he wasn't, pretty much sure it was going to happen. Look, we're going to lose players. We're going to lose good players. That was one thing looking at that time today and realising we still haven't. We are going to lose good players. At some point, somebody's going to come in and make us an offer we can't say no to. I suspect financially we'll need to take, an offer for one of our better players if one comes in. But I suspect guys like Kamara and Goldson are looking and thinking, wouldn't mind a crack at the Champions League. Wouldn't mind having that in my CV. And they'll be weighing it up, saying, right, okay, I'll know in a few weeks whether we've qualified or not. And at that point, then they have a decision to make. But modern contracts, Colin, I'm not going to claim to be some kind of expert, but I suspect there's a release clause that Goldson's agent will be comfortable with, the Rangers are comfortable with. There'll be things built in there. So if the right bid comes along from the right club and it suits the player and it suits us, he will leave. But at least this way, we're guaranteed some compensation. And I'm not keen on players in the last year of their contract. I kind of would actually tend to just cut my losses. It's always my great disappointment with Brian Laudrup. My only disappointment with Brian Laudrup was that final kind of 3-4 months when he clearly knew he was joining Chelsea and or at least somebody else at that point. And I don't think you can give it 100%. So I think it's wise to just if he's leaving in the summer, if Kamara's leaving in the summer, let them leave now. Just kind of. I would just make that happen. And if it means you get less for them than maybe you would have hoped for, I still think it's probably better.
Yeah. Another thing through the week, Ross, was Rangers had knocked back some interest from West Ham and Kai Kennedy. It's since been announced he's went on loan to Dunfermline for the year. I don't know if you've seen the tweet that Dunfermline put out. It was pretty impressive, I must admit. It was WWE related. It was quite funny. So fair play to them. But I mean, Kai Kennedy's a funny one. He went out on loan last season to, I think it was Inverness, Cali and Wraith Rovers. Really, really impressed. But he's also had that wee incident previously where it seemed like him and his agent and the club were not getting on, and there was issues. How do you feel about Kennedy? Do you think one more sort of loan deal and then see if he's ready to start getting into the first team?
Yeah, so he's 19 now. So you'd want to see him starting to either creep in this pre-season or certainly next pre-season. But yeah, one more loan deal. I would have hoped. Look, I don't know anything about how these loans come about. I don't know if it's a case of Gerrard says, look, he's not ready yet, because also he's playing in positions that we have superstars, right? So he's not ready yet. He's not going to make the first team yet. Let's get him a loan. If Dunfermline are the only club that come in for a loan, I mean, it's better that he goes to Dunfermline and plays men's football as opposed to playing in the Lowland League, is it not? So I've seen online a fair bit of aggravation, I think, that it's only Dunfermline. And maybe that's a bit disrespectful. But if no one else comes in and wants to take him on loan, the alternative was sell him to West Ham. And I think he's probably at a wee bit of a crossroads, and Gerrard doesn't seem to want to sell him because there's a player there. We've seen flashes of Kai Kennedy, right, in pre-seasons or cup games, and there's a player there. There's potential there. So I can see that it seems to me, again, pure speculation, but it seems to me that Gerrard doesn't want to sell him. Thinks there's a player there. Thinks he can be useful. But if Dunfermline are the only club that want to take him on loan, it's better that he goes to Dunfermline and plays championship level football than sits in the Rangers B team and plays Lowland League football. So I don't know. Look, he's. I'm just looking at his stats and stuff. He had 10 appearances at Wraith Rovers and scored 1 goal. 8 appearances at Inverness Cali and scored 1 goal. He's a winger, so he's going up against your Ryan Kents, your Yanis Hadjis, your Scott Wrights, arguably your Joe Aribos as well. So he's going up against some of our best players in fighting for that starting spot. Tough job for the lad, really, really tough job. I think it will also be a tough job to show that he's ready to take the step up from Dunfermline to Rangers first team. And I wonder if this, I don't know a lot about the deal that's been worked out. I don't know if it's the whole season or maybe it's 6 months and there's a break around Christmas and we can see what happens after that. Because I can see the concerns that some people have of it's only Dunfermline, and I don't mean that with any disrespect, but I can imagine that if it was someone like a St Mirren or a St Johnstone, like St Johnstone did with Glenn Middleton, I think that's done Glenn Middleton the world of good, going to St Johnstone, playing games, winning trophies,
winning medals,
winning the Scottish Cup. because I think Glenn Middleton's looked really, really handy this pre-season. He's been told to fight for his space, and I think he's doing that. I think if it was a St Johnstone or St Mirren or a Livingston or someone like that, fans might feel a little bit more comfortable about it. But that's not how football works. You can't just phone up Livingston and say, going to take Kai Kennedy for us. So if it means going to Dunfermline, playing competitive football, then let's do it. If you put me on the spot and say, will Kai Kennedy be playing first team football for Rangers in 2 years? At this point, I struggle to see it.
I'm amazed we turned down that bid. I would have sold him, man. Yeah, because he's clearly not getting into our team, and I don't think it's so much Dunfermline. I think Ross is dead right. It's not so much that it's Dunfermline he's joined, because I don't think there's that much between Dunfermline and Dundee and Ross County. I don't think there's a huge gap between them in terms of clubs. It's the league he's in. It's the fact he's joined a team in the Championship. I was very puzzled. I expected him to follow what Stephen Kelly's done, where he had a season with Ayr in the Championship and then moved and had a season in the SPFL with Ross County. And then we see Ben Williamson had a season in the Championship with Arbroath and has now moved and joined Livingston. So I assumed that that seems like natural progression. Yeah. And this doesn't. This seems like, he's gone into Dunfermline. He's going to play in the same league he was playing in last season. He did okay. I saw him play a couple of BBC Alba had the Championship games last season. I actually saw him play 2 or 3 times for Wraith Rovers. Wraith Rovers played brilliant football last season. They were a joy to watch. And he did not look at a place there. But I don't know. I just think he needs to be moving on. And if a club like West Ham, that's the thing that surprises me. If a club like West Ham came in from, I'm amazed we didn't take the deal. I'm amazed we didn't let him go and take the deal and because it would make it. I hear what Ross is saying. In the end, if no club came in from, then he has to go to Dunfermline. Then you do question, why has no club come in from? Why hasn't a Ross County or a St Johnstone or a St Mirren? Why have none of them come in and said, see that winger you've got? He's a player, and fancy giving us him for 6 months. So if no other team in our league thinks he's good enough to get into their team, then he's definitely not good enough to get into our team. And at 19, I think it's time for him to make his career elsewhere. And I'm sorry about that, because I saw him in that kind of international tournament, the kind of under 17s or something. Yeah.
And he was voted. Was he not voted one of the top players?
And he really did look like a prospect, but. We've seen this before. Guys who look like they are have huge potential at 16, 17. It just doesn't seem to happen for them over those next 2 years, and they end up that's just part of football. And unfortunately, I think that's what's happening with Kai Kennedy. So I'm surprised we didn't sell him. I read through the week that the loan agreement is that Rangers can recall him at any time, not just at Christmas, but apparently they could recall him at any time. But we'll wait and see. I'd love to be wrong.
On another player who don't know yet if he's moving or not, Friday lunchtime there, Steven Gerrard done an interview with Sky News, and I was sitting watching it, and he made the comment, about Morelos in terms of, I'm not quite sure when he'll be back, and that kind of set alarm bells ringing in my head. I was like, how does a manager of a football club not know when one of his main players comes back? I mean, Gerrard's quite good in interviews. He's cool, and he knows how to play that game. But there did seem to be a kind of reopening of old wounds. I don't think Morelos and Gerrard have always had a sort of harmonious relationship, and it seems to me that it's going the other way again, based on some of the stuff that Gerrard said. And he said he's getting tired of getting asked the question about his future. He knows where all the noise is coming from, sort of implying his agent. So Ross, I'll come to you in this first. Steven Gerrard said he's bored talking about Alfredo Morelos. Is he going? Is he staying? All that kind of stuff. Every year in this podcast at this time of year, we have had this same discussion. So we'll have it again. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, Gerrard's bored of being asked the question. I'm bored of embarrassing myself by saying Well, looks like Morelos is away in this week.
Yeah, and he doesn't go.
I think it's 6 years in a row we've been saying that, and he never goes. Yeah. Again, for the 6th, maybe the 7th time in a row, I'd be amazed if he's still here in 2 months. You get the sense that the management is frustrated. No one seems to know where he is, and people saying his wife's taking the photos inside an airport, so he must be coming home. It seemed like he did one of these charity games at his hometown in Colombia and then disappeared. And I think John's right. He mentioned it a few moments ago. He's not going to come back 3 stone overweight. He'll come back and everyone will be questioning his BMI and his body fat content and everything else. I don't really care about his body fat. If he's playing for us and he's scoring goals, then he can be as fat as he likes. But
it never done Chris Boyd any harm.
No, exactly.
And it never done me any harm, John, in the amateur setup. Let me assure you. Just pack your big fat arse into those defenders and turn and whack it. Anyway, sorry, Ross.
But I just get the sense that it's one of those now, and I don't like saying this because he's done so much for this club, and this club's done so much for him. Like the opportunities that Rangers are giving that player, putting him in the shop window in Europe and letting him score goals all over this continent against some wonderful teams. He's given us as fans some incredible moments. But here we are once again. Whether it's that he's gone AWOL after an international break, or he's had a disciplinary issue and he's missing for 4 games. Here we are again going, would we all be, relatively comfortable if he moved on? We've got Kamar Roof, Jermaine Defoe, Fashion Sakala, Cedric Hitton. If Morelos left for 18, 20 million pounds, we'd be reinvesting that, I'm sure, to bring someone else in. It doesn't fill me with the fear that it would have done if he'd left 3 years ago. And I say this as the biggest Alfredo Morelos fan. I think he's just been, what a signing for £1 million. £1 million. What a player he's been for us, and he's been a joy to watch. A joy to watch. He really, really has. I've also loved watching the rest of Scottish football unite against him. I've loved the fact that he's positioned himself as that player, that his fans love him and everyone else hates him, and it's we've really taken to him as a support. He's united us all in support of him, and I think he's been great. But he also possibly deserves a chance to go on and test himself at a higher level. There are higher levels in the Scottish Premier League, and maybe he deserves a chance, whether that's at Porto or in the Premier League, or if he goes to Italy or Spain or wherever it is. I don't think anyone would really begrudge him that, because he's another player who's done what he came here to do. He's won the league, he's scored a load of goals, he's shown off in Europe. I don't want to lose him, but I suspect that day will come, and I suspect that actually it's probably coming a bit sooner rather than later. But it doesn't fill me with the fear that it would have done a few years ago. I think we've got good replacements, good striking options, and if he does go, there will be money to reinvest. So if he moves on, that's football. But some of the memories that he will be leaving us with, we've not had a sort of talismanic striker like him since Jelavic, maybe arguably Dado Purcell. So yeah, he's just been a phenomenal signing. If this is his time to move on, then best of luck to him.
John, is the difference, as we've said there, we've had this discussion so many times. It makes me feel old having this same conversation, all those years. But is the difference this time, what Ross has said there, maybe in the past, Gerrard had to put up with some of the stuff that came with Morelos because he didn't have a huge amount of options. Now he's got Eaton, who, as we discussed earlier on, looks like he's increasing his stake for a jersey. We've got Roof and we've got Sakala. So there's options there, in that striking department in Gerrard's early years. It was pretty much down to Morelos. So is that the difference this time? And is that what will maybe make it a different outcome in terms of if he stays or if he goes?
Without knowing a huge amount about Sakala before we signed him, I think a lot of us assumed that he was being seen as a replacement for Morelos. He seems a similar type of player, a fast, hard-working player, a guy who's going to give defenders no peace whatsoever. That's a different type of player from Roof, and it's a different type of player from Eaton. So I think there was that assumption. I'm more relaxed about Morelos. I'm more relaxed about him going missing because he has done it before. The first couple of times he did it, you were in panic. What if he never comes back? What if he's has just gone and signed for Independiente or something, and we just don't see him again? Whereas this time you think, no, he's coming back. He'll be back next week. There'll be pictures on Instagram of him with balloons and confetti and enjoying the rain or whatever. And I'm more relaxed about it. I think you just have to accept that comes with him. You have to accept the whole package. And the package is you get these periods where he just worries the living daylights out of you. And he's like that wayward child. He's like that, the kind of prodigal son. He creates a bit of drama in everything he does. And as Ross said, the fact that he is probably the most hated footballer in Scotland, it just endears him even more to you.
Yeah.
And great. I wish he was here. I wish he was fit. I wish he had been, starting today. He's not. I'm not sure I entirely buy that. We don't know where he is, and we don't know when he's coming back. I'm sure we have some idea where he is, and we have some idea when he's coming back.
I'm not so sure.
I'm less. It doesn't concern me as much. I think he'll be back soon. If we sell him, I will be very sad. I'll be sad to see him go because I have loved him as a player. But as we said earlier, we are going to have to sell somebody. And if someone makes the right offer, he goes with our blessings. And I wish him a great career because he's a player I've really enjoyed. And he last season, but we forget he didn't start first choice last season. Roof was first choice.
Yeah.
And Morelos came in. I mean, he was coming on as a sub. He was getting some time, but he wasn't first choice. And he's got his chance. I think Roof got an injury or something. He got his chance. He took it, and he never looked back. He ended up having a great season for his last season. So let's see how it goes. Like you say, Gerrard has options. He could come back and become our fourth choice striker. So we'll just have to see.
Conscious of time, guys, so one more quick question each. I'll come back to you now, Ross. The Champions League, Rangers drawn with either HJK Helsinki or Malmo. Thoughts on our chances of qualification?
Very strong indeed. Chances, I think. We are a dominant force in Europe, it seems. You look at our results over the last 3 seasons. I do not fear either of those teams. I hope this isn't sort of cockiness and hubris coming back to bite us later. But Malmo maybe gives us some flashbacks to previous disappointing result. But I don't think we have any reason to fear either of those teams. The one sticky point for us will be a lack of options up front. Obviously, direct contradiction of what we've just spoken about how we don't need Morelos because we've got so many other strikers. But with Defoe injured, Roof suspended, etc., it's not ideal. That being said, we want to prove that we are a Champions League pedigree team. We just beaten Real Madrid 2 hours ago. In my mind, we are a Champions League pedigree team, and if you can't beat Malmo or Helsinki, you don't deserve to be in the competition. So. Honestly, fairly confident. I don't see them as any stronger than the likes of Galatasaray or Legia Warsaw or some of the other teams that we've put out in qualifiers in the last 2 or 3 seasons. And we've got stronger, in my mind. We are getting stronger and stronger every season. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am. And as John said, we are playing continental football up until Christmas, no matter what happens. And that's a fun thought as well. Obviously, I quite like my European trips. Probably don't expect to get on any this year, what with COVID and all, but it's a lovely feeling to have midweek games in Europe again, to have new destinations to go to, new teams to play against. But yeah, I think the draw could have been worse personally, and Malmo or again, one of the hardest things might be that I believe they're already into their seasons, maybe not sort of halfway through, but they definitely had a handful of games, so they'll be up to scratch and they'll be up to speed, but we've had a full pre-season now. We've shown that we're firing, we're fighting fit. Genuinely, just looking forward to it.
And John, last question to yourself. I mean, Rangers were drawn with Dunfermline tonight in the Premier Sports Cup. Is it now? It's had so many names. I kind of lose place with it all.
The Skull Cup.
It's the old Skull. That's what I call it.
I'll still call it Skull Cup.
Yeah, so they are. But drawn with that. So you imagine. I mean, don't say it'll be easy, but you imagine we get through that. But I think the main issue to talk about now, the return to league action next week, Livingston at Ibrox. I mean, it feels like an age since we won the league. You know what I mean? Because it was like way back in March. Normally, you win the league in May, and you feel like you're still going again come August time. But it seems so far away. How are you feeling about that? And you looking forward to getting back to it on Saturday?
Yeah, I am. I wasn't. I enjoyed the European Championships. I think you and I.
Yeah, we had a wee chat on the WhatsApp.
I enjoyed the European Championships and I enjoyed the kind of European football, the international football. I hadn't quite got my head into domestic yet, and it was really this weekend. I was watching the game yesterday, kind of. Oh yeah, okay, that's right. This is what I enjoy, and today was great. We really enjoyed it. So now I'm looking forward to it. Livingston are in decent form. You know, they've their pre-season is the League Cup, or I think it's the Premier Sports Cup, is what we're calling it. The Skull Cup, the Premier Sports Cup, that's what their pre-season's been is playing in the kind of qualifying rounds for that, and so I think they've had 100% record. At least they haven't lost any game. They might have drawn a game. So they're getting in and they'll be coming in decent form. They were a good team last season, Livingston. Hard to play against. But at Ibrox, got to fancy us. It won't be the first time we've stuttered early in the season if we do, but hopefully we won't. I really want to see us hit the ground running. And really anything less than a win will be a huge disappointment. We are, at Livingston are not going to be any stronger than they were last season. They'll have pulled a couple of players out and a couple of players in, but they're not going to be any stronger than last season. We are stronger than last season. We should, it should be a game we should be going into full of confidence. It's a game we should look at winning. And there'll be what's the capacity next week? Do you two know?
I don't know. I think they've not pulled the number out of a hat yet, so I don't know.
Right, so we still don't know. Right.
I don't know. I've not seen anything. I'm losing the place with all of it. I can't keep up with it anymore. I've actually given up trying. You know what I mean? Like you said, that incident today, when I logged on and I saw there was 2 emails sitting for 8 o'clock on Friday night, I was like, could have been at that game today.
A voice from above, the voice in my ear, our producers suggested it's currently 17,000.
17,000
is the number just now. So 17,000 at Ibrox is that's getting there. That's
decent.
Well, then the club, the players will know there's fans there. That's not 2,000, which is just the ridiculous number in Ibrox. So that's got to help as well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the new season. It's very exciting. You got to see us in that new black strip yesterday as well. Which
you're bringing out the Rangers, Dan, me here, John.
Well, see, I didn't mind it. I thought it was all right. The internet reacted with horror to it, and I thought actually I think that's okay. I'm not buying it, but that's because I'm old and fat. But I thought it was okay. I think it looked too bad. Quite like the black and red.
I quite like the black and red. It's just the design. I thought there was a bit garish and too much on it, to be honest with you. But they're not aiming at me, are they? You know what I mean? I'm not the target demographic when it comes to buying these shirts. Although you see a lot of people my age wearing them, it's not for me. I must admit, my shirt buying days are pretty much largely behind me. But I can't say at this particular moment. The home top's working on me. I wasn't that keen on that when it first came out. It's grown on me a wee bit, but the way top's in that early, I don't like it stage. I'll probably change my mind, but for the first time I see them playing, Dundee or something in it, you know what I mean? So anyway, right guys, I'm looking at the clock. I think we'll run over a wee bit, so we'll call time there. So a big thanks to Ross and John there for their contributions. Great stuff as always. We'll be back on Friday night with the first preview show of the season. So tune in for that as we'll be looking at the Livy game. And we'll be back next Sunday as well to preview said game. And so in the meantime, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. Guys, we beat Real Madrid tonight, so have a good night. Enjoy your week. Get it right up Well, the Celtic fans at work and all the rest of it with their gubbing yesterday. And until next week, bye for now.